Last time, on Asmiliath adventures, our heroes, after a long time away, return back to the mysterious tower that holds the even more mysterious dragonborn sorcerer they know as Friend. Being led by an eager Thor, the party move past the illusionary bubble that surrounds his stone prison, getting a warm welcome from the man inside. Apologizing for the time it took to return, Thor quickly begins conversing as the party wearily follows behind him. Though the Dragonborn seems friendly, there are hints of reckless actions and thoughts that put the more reserved companions on alert. Eventually being invited inside, the large creature known as Big assists in lifting our heroes to the higher floors of the tower. As they are deposited into the comfortable interior, a long conversation begins that covers the Golden Heart's adventures, Chormon's note-keeping, and the potential doom that faces the world. As per usual, Chormon converses about the gods and higher powers of this world with an alarming ease, dismissing Thoradin as a bratty child in his attempts to destroy the world. Deeper into the conversation, Thor tries to convince the strong being to ally with them, for exchange of freeing him from the tower. Appearing to only be amused by this offer and expressing no interest in being free, the Goliath quickly grows disheartened. Moving past this, the other members of the party begin to pry at the unstable mind of Chormon, asking various questions relating to the gods, history, and power, hoping to gain some insight on the journey that lay before them. Eventually, the evening wraps up as the party decide there isn't much left to achieve in this strange place, politely departing from the tower and making their way back to solid ground. Now having catered to Thor's mission to investigate Chormon, the Golden Hearts realign their sights on Liamus and the potential piece of Thoradin that might reside there. After multiple days of somewhat tense travel across the war-weary lands of Giles, our heroes cross over the Bose River and enter the Republic of Liamus. It is January 22nd as the now large caravan of the Golden Hearts gain their first glimpse at the city of Uken. Upon his mount, Sir Campbellton rides beside Decker, giving the dashing rogue an inquisitive look before he begins a dialogue. So you guys have just kind of crested the last hill that allows you to see Uken kind of spreading out beneath you, but before you can all take in its glory, Campbellton kind of turns over to Decker, knowing that he is from this place. Sir Caspian, you grew up here, right? Or no, you grew up in Kraylin, is that correct?
Both are correct. Just depends on what time frame you're talking about.
Well, I was just curious. I haven't been here myself, and I knew that Giles' residents still reside there, and I didn't know if there was any friction that I guess I should be aware of.
Well, as I'm sure you learned in primary school, it was once part of the Giles Kingdom. So there are those that believe that we rightfully should be back with them, but for the most part they are in the minority.
My father expressed that it was once the jewel of Giles' kingdom, and apparently his grandfather was rather upset at losing that city to the Republic. But I'm excited to see what the people are like there. I don't get outside of Giles' kingdom much, as I guess you could imagine.
They're all like me. Beautiful, intelligent, smell very good.
I'm happy to see that the Golden Heart jokes never end.
But was there something specific you were inquiring about, or just a general flavor?
Just general curiosity. I didn't want to ride into a situation where I would find myself unwelcome, especially since my...
Very proud of who we are, and you'll find us mostly a rather independent lot.
Since we are trudging back into your home, is there anything that we are seeking out here, or are we passing through, just restocking, just a general plan?
My part, I'd love to stay a long time, but it really is up to the group. I think speed is actually in our best interest at the moment.
Well, I align with those values, sir. I'll let you discuss with your compatriots, and I shall make sure we are pointed forward.
Gentlemen, welcome to my home. Land.
So the party, as you are getting a better glimpse at the city laid out beneath you, Ukin is set between the main river, the Bose River, and a small stream/river, depending, that feeds into it a little bit more south. So it's kind of in this isolated river valley that it almost like fully encapsulates. Words are difficult. But the city itself is built upon this large hill. It's so large that you might even try and identify it as a mountain of some such, but it has now been overtaken by this kind of sprawling urban aesthetic. Starting at the top of this hill, you see a lot of rather extravagant buildings, larger kind of public works, and then working your way down from the top of the city, there are sectioned off layers of defensible walls, kind of separating rings of the city as it moves up towards the top. And as you get down near the bottom, where the hill is kind of rolling off into plains, you have your general like rural area with farms and things of that nature. And then if Decker had given you any sort of insight or, small talk about the city as you guys are traveling, the general way that the city works is the more skilled labor, the more specialized, the more important things are, the more deeper it is into the city, or more higher up, I guess you should describe it as. But that is the general aesthetic that you are glancing down at this point, and it is a very large city. It certainly is larger than Kraylin, perhaps about on par with Freeside City, the capital of Giles. So it is a rather influential place of population. But you would all be looking that over as Campbellton kind of resigns himself from Decker and kind of moves back to the caravan.
I would send Aurora up to go find scout out my home, see if there's anybody just about that I recognize, see if my sister's out in the garden or anything like that.
Okay. Well, you guys are still a fair bit away, like perhaps a mile or two away from the actual city itself.
I see. Okay. Then as we get closer, I would do that.
Okay.
Jarek would actually approach Decker, shot up next to him, and Decker, you've mentioned a few times your coffee that your family sells there. Do you grow this stuff nearby, or is it transported in elsewhere?
No, it's grown nearby. It's we grow it on the hillsides.
Well,
comes from the swamps. Just general knowledge for you, since we haven't covered this yet. The coffee beans, the reason that it's more successful here, more prominent here, and more of a Liamus thing, is the coffee beans themselves are grown in the fringes, the kind of edges of the swamp. So,
coffee grows on hills, it doesn't grow in swamps.
It's a fantasy land, there's dragons and shit, just work with me here, brother.
Okay, alright, rewind, I'll go with it.
Okay, thank you.
Alright. Game on. Yes, it's not grown locally. We source it from the swamps.
Well, if we have to pass through any of your fields, and we can, take some time, if we spend a day out there, I can help them give them a little extra boost for the next year, help your family profit a little bit more.
Really? Well, I'd have to put you in touch with our master of numbers, but if there's a significant increase due to your efforts, we'll see if we can give you some sort of recompense.
Yeah, I could assume maybe a double your current yield if some of my previous efforts are to be believed.
You can double it. I guarantee you'll watch my tight-ass father shit a golden brick.
Deal.
Yeah. Sure, he'd give it to you, too. Double. I just kind of look at him incredulously, like...
Yeah, no, why don't you believe me?
I don't know, it just seems as if it were possible, somebody would have already done it for us. How do you propose to double my crop?
Well, I gotta go out into the field itself, but give me about 8 hours or so. I'm gonna sing to every plant out there and convince it to do its best. Tell it it's doing a great job, but it could be better, and motivate it. You know, normal plant stuff.
Is this a normal thing you do?
I mean,
Have you had success in this endeavor?
well, here, we're still up on a hillside, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
heading towards Eric will pull out his lute and strum a few notes out and just call out to some plants and grass and whatnot, like 150 feet away, and cast plant growth. And everything within 100-foot radius from that point would just overgrow. It would burst out.
Yeah, you would see Decker visibly gasp. Yeah.
But not like that. That's temporary. But if I actually, take my time with it, I can just, help stuff grow nicely.
Jarek, you do realize that you potentially could be a very wealthy man with that gift. Why have you waited so long to do something with your... Well, no, you've done something with your life. You're a mayor. That's...
Yeah, thanks, kid.
I'll inform my father the next we speak of your particular talent and let him know that it's a possibility. It's not really my decision, but I can't see that he would deny your aid.
Yeah, maybe see if he'll throw in some of your coffee for the new folk.
Well, yes, it goes without speaking. Before we leave here, we can get as much as we'd like. I'm certainly going to restock. Does anybody else like coffee? Thought if you drank it.
We never really had coffee. We just had water, and then we would like crush some rocks in it, and then we'd stir it up, and it'd be kind of like crunchy water.
Yes, this is far superior to that, and might give you a bit of energy that would be fun to behold. Valoran, certainly you've experienced coffee, and what's your opinion on it?
I think it's delightful.
As do I. A man of refinement and taste, I see. But please, enjoy it the way it is. Try not to stir in any additives to it. It quite stands on its own merit.
Naturally.
But we do have, as fascinating as that is, Jarek, we must continue forward. I'd look around. Is there anybody... Are we still by ourselves?
Yeah, I mean, you're still kind of traveling down the road towards it, but if you want to end up at the gate or whatnot, we could certainly make that happen.
No, I'm following Valoran's lead.
So is this like the main city? Like the place to be,
I certainly think so, but sadly it's not the seat of all power in the region. But as far as economically and militarily, we're quite top tier as far as the city-states go in Lemus.
What about magic shops?
I was wondering if you'd ever ask. Yes, we've got many. Just
Many.
what particular specialty you're looking for, but thought any more magical and you might glow in the dark.
That might be one of my intentions. I can't see in the dark, so that might be actually useful.
There are these things called torches. I found them quite handy in the past.
Yeah, but like, if I can just glow, I don't have to carry a torch. I can just glow.
Yes. I mean, sometimes I find it quite useful to not glow.
Well, yeah, because you're like sneaky sneak, but I'm like,
Right, so I would appreciate it if you didn't just always glow.
I'm not gonna always glow.
Just be circumspect in what you acquire, please.
I just want to see what they have is all. I'm always curious. Hopefully they're not as uptight as, pothead guy.
Think you'll find people here uptight? Just try not to insult the city of Uken. We're rather proud of who we are. Just keep
Isn't
that.
everybody?
Some more so than others. I'd say we're here, and others are here.
But where are folk people? Are they like here? Or are they like here?
I don't know, Valoran. Are you here, or are you here?
Because I would think they're like here,
Hmm.
based on previous experiences. Although I've never met people of Uken, so this may be a scale yet to judge.
Thor, didn't you pass through some time ago?
Did I?
Yeah, you have a long time ago. When you're heading up towards the mountains for your one shot.
I've been to Uken?
Yeah.
I did not think
Amnesia's
I
a
went
hell
to...
of a drug.
That's the only thing I've remembered about the time skip we took. You went to Uken.
Wait, when did I go to Uken?
Well, we came through Liamus to get to Giles for the funeral of Braun.
So yeah, you probably would have traveled through Uken as well.
It was just on screen.
Okay, I see.
Thor's a well-traveled man, as I've been told multiple times.
Yeah. I get around, but not the way you think. Anyway.
I'm
So
most
then-
interested in people who will know something of the swamp's geography.
There will be your pick of those here. Like I said, our crops are sourced from the swamp, so it's our business to know it in and out. Me personally, I've spent little time there. It's not to my liking, and usually the bounties that went towards the swamp, I tried to foist off on somebody else, but I've been there a time or two. But as for an expert in the region, I'm sure we can find somebody. Swamps are dirty, and dank and dark.
Yep, they're full of so many things. Like monsters. Like giant monsters. Do you have giant monsters?
Yes,
Thor,
there's a dragon there, Thor. You quite like it, I believe.
Have you seen the dragon?
No, but every child knows that it lives there.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
as long as we're approaching the city, why don't you tell us what you know about Ziggurat of the Night?
I thought you would never ask. Well, it is, as far as any sort of learned man is concerned, a myth or a legend or a long ago being that no longer wields his power, I guess you can say. Currently, he kind of glances over at Decker real quick and then kind of works through in his head. Less civilized people that choose the swamp as their home believe him to be some sort of overseer, protector, guider of some sort. The exact details of that are a little bit sparse. It seems that their scholars don't exactly converse with ours all that often. But that's the general knowledge, unless you want to get into the songs and fables and poems written about this potentially real or unreal being.
And there's no offense taken, Mr. Moon. You don't have to guard your words. They are less civilized.
For what it's worth, apparently they have found their way to live in a place that many would not. Must speak something to their character.
Do be sure to join us as we speak with the local lore keepers and help us separate potential truth from tall tales.
Well, if we do end up finding him, I will be sure to write it down and spread the word.
Do you want to bet money that we find them? I'll bet you money that we find them.
My large friend, I know enough to know that no bet is a good bet.
Thor, I'll take you up on that, but I'll bet you your weapon against my weapon.
That we find him, or that we don't? Like, I'm betting that we find him.
Right, so I'll take the other bet. We don't find him.
Okay, sounds great. Do you even have a weapon?
Jarek will pull out a couple of daggers. I have weapons.
Oh,
I can fight.
uh-huh.
I think I've got a rapier somewhere around here.
So can you even, like, hold... Well, I guess you probably could hold this thing. Pretty light.
I fought with you, Thor.
Yeah, but not with this thing.
No, I've held weapons in. Fine. I just don't want to find a dragon. Gods have favor on us.
So as you all approach, Decker, you mentioned it earlier, but are you letting Valoran lead the procession parade caravan? Where is it?
Procession.
Thank you.
Yeah, as he's our, in my view anyway, as our de facto leader, I certainly have no problem letting him lead.
Okay. So as you descend from the hill that you guys got the great view on and down the slope to where you start approaching the larger hill that holds the city of Ukin, you pass by, smaller hamlets and smaller, I guess, like, outside kind of like residual towns that are built around the main city. You get a few glances. Some people kind of point at the banner on the side of the caravan or, point at some of the stranger looking individuals that you now employ. But eventually you do come up to the first massive wall that encapsulates the base of the hill of Ukin, the first layer of defenses, a small tidbit that perhaps your lore keeper might have mentioned or Decker might have mentioned.
Yeah,
the city is...
Well, yeah, I was gonna I'd kind of pull up next to Valor and just kind of bragging a little bit. Do you realize our fine city has never fallen in battle? Are there any...
Has it been besieged often?
Not lately. It's been so formidable that people have given up trying in the better part of 100 years.
I see.
Yes, as you...
Just a little shameless bragging.
I wouldn't jinx it.
What could possibly go wrong?
Nothing from the War Prophet?
Every time I speak of war, it happens, so best to remain silent. Jarek would just stare at the countryside, imagining it burned to ash, cry.
So as the astounding heroes approach the main gate of the first layer of defenses, the impregnable nature of the city kind of imposing itself upon you as you get towards the base of it. The guards at the gate are rather not nonchalant, but they aren't exactly on high alert. There's a few different, people kind of coming in with, hand wagons and carts and various goods and whatnot. As they spot the larger group of all of your wagons and caravans and carts and horses and riders coming up, they get a little bit more, I guess, addressable, stand a little bit taller, kind of rearm themselves a bit. The, I guess, leading one would step forward as Valoran comes into view. Welcome, good sir, to the city of Ukin. May I ask what your business is here?
We're the Golden Hearts Company.
Watching. I'm sorry, go ahead.
We're the Golden Hearts Company. We're on an expedition to explore the swamp.
That seems like a good reason as any. I guess I can welcome you to the city of Ukin. I will tell you that the swamp is that way, but hopefully you enjoy your stay here as you pass through.
Very good, thank you.
So as the parade of Golden Hearts kind of get a little bit closer, like the Valoran passing by the first guard, one of the gatehouse guards kind of like catches Decker a little bit, more or less kind of remembering him by his elegant cape, and kind of pointing up at him. You're Caspian, right?
One of them.
You're, part of the Rangers.
I'm one of them, yes.
Why are you, with this lot?
Why shouldn't I be?
It's not
Is
exactly a
it
good
your
answer.
duty now to determine my goings and comings?
Did not mean any offense, sir.
I'm just messing with you. No, it's a matter of some importance, but they're good people. You're doing a fine job here. Keep up the good work.
Yes, I'm keeping an eagle's eye out, or an owl's eye out, I think is... Yes?
I'd apparate Aurora on its other shoulder, opposite of where he's looking.
He kind of like gestures at it a little bit. He's like, ah.
The whole
Carry
time
on.
Carl's just...
But passing through the first gatehouse, that would more or less sum up the welcoming that you get. Kind of initially getting this rather relaxed entry, and then upon recognizing Decker, they're all like, she's one of the boys. And so the Golden Hearts enter the city of Ukin. Now that you're past the first wall, you're still in somewhat sparse areas of the city. It's less farms and maybe more like tanners and butchers and things of that nature. A few taverns and inns on the outskirts that travelers would pass through instead of going into the city proper. So it's kind of up to you what the direction is at this point. Early morning, by the way. It's like 8 or 9 in the morning.
Oh, Decker, where do we need to go to find all your fancy people?
Well, I would just kind of point high up.
So you
Somewhere in
mentioned
the
having Aurora checking out the homestead while you were approaching?
I would have.
Yeah. So as you're passing through the gate and kind of getting into the city proper, you get an owl's perspective of the manor of the Caspians. A rather large and prominent estate up near the top of the city. It's not too far from a lot of the government buildings due to your father's position. And so, kind of sailing Aurora around the general vicinity, checking out the comings and goings of who's inside and who's about. You wouldn't recognize any of your family members within the house itself or any of the courtyards or gardens that kind of connect to it, but you'd see, familiar servants that you've, somewhat remember the names of and things of that nature. You would probably recognize kind of the head servant of your household who's telling some, I don't know, new person to adjust the silverware the right way, things of that nature. But overall, it seems like everything's going rather clockwork-esque at the old homestead?
Well, it really depends. If we're looking to stay here and get comfortable and secure rooms and eat ourselves into oblivion, yes, we should continue to climb, but I'm not sure that's really appropriate for the circumstances. I would like to secure a meeting with my father if he's about.
For the company or a private meeting?
A bit of both. I mean,
Good manners for us to pay our respects, I suppose.
yes, you find him quite agreeable, I believe.
Well, I have only 3 goals here. That is blacksmith, magic shops.
Magic shop and more magic shops.
What?
Nothing.
Blacksmith, magic shops,
And more magic
and
shops.
like the town square. Do you guys have like a town square where everything's just like happening?
We're like a cake. A multi-tiered cake. Each layer is delicious in its own right. You can find some fun everywhere you're at. I happen to know that right here there's a beautiful little inn. Serves the most delicious meat pies in all the land. The delightful ale. And they make cocktails out of our coffee. It's interesting if you've never had one. But it really depends what you're looking for, Thor.
I'm looking for a town square. Like, is there like a there's like marketplaces where it's like, oh, you walk around and all these people are selling things. It's like, oh, look, that guy's selling leather, that guy's selling a rabbit's foot, that guy's selling my mom. Like
It's
there's
one
just
of the
things
largest cities in the land. Yes, we've got a marketplace, Thor. You'd be quite happy to find that we have that.
All right, well, those are my 3 goals, and then I guess I'll add on a meeting if I can fit it in my schedule.
If not, I'll send your regards to my father. And so, speaking of which, I would be looking to see if there's anybody in with our heraldry that I can flag down. But I'm sorry, what were you saying?
We have like 20 people in our caravan, including the company, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's grown a lot.
What the hell are we gonna do with all these guys? Kind of jerking a thumb back towards the rest of the people.
I don't think we need to pull the entire caravan up to your father's house.
No, certainly not. Please don't do that. But I can get them arranged, and not a problem.
So Campbellton would actually ride up to this little group discussion, kind of clearing his throat a little bit after overhearing it. Lords Goldenhots, as much as I would love to seek all of the cultural riches of Ukin, we are on a mission to potentially save the world.
Yes.
Perhaps we should make this a little bit expedient.
I had said as much. Just a little... Not quite the same thrust as that, but yes.
Valoran gives Campbellton a little side eye, and then he says, I agree. Best to do what we must here and set out straight away.
Tell you what, Thor. How about we find someone who can direct me to my father? And while I'm meeting with him, I'll have them take you to our premier magic shop.
I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I just had, my 3 goals. Bing, bam, boom. But, if your father doesn't want to meet me, that's fine.
It would be your choice, though.
Should how about I don't know, poke around down here? Because we're on the bottom level where all like the poor people live, right?
It's not poor people. It isn't like a class system. It's more the focus of each layer. Like, there could be plantation owners down here at the bottom ring because that's where their business kind of functions. It's not, our poor old hick boys at the bottom, and it's just kind of like what the general usefulness of each layer is. With the
Do I see any town guard near me, or?
There's a few kind of milling about, but I have something for you as soon as everyone's questions kind of done for a moment.
Maybe I should poke around down here, see if I can find anyone who has a swamp tour, or maybe goes hunting out there regularly.
You do realize that my father's the most powerful man in the city, right?
You've mentioned it a few times, but
I don't say that to brag. I'm just saying that if you need a swamp guide, I'm sure we can arrange one without the trouble that you would, or the cost you would incur.
Then it sounds like your father is probably the best person we should talk to at this point.
I believe so.
Well.
So, Decker, as you're conversing with your companions, kind of keeping a little eye out, and also Aurora's doing a few, lazy circles, kind of just eyeing the situation as everybody converses. I guess you get maybe a little ping from Aurora, a little like, ooh, something strange. And as you, potentially glance up at her or do a little small swish of your gaze around you, you would see probably like a young teenage boy just like darting through the crowd, but you would quickly recognize the black and silver colors of your household, your sigil like prominently on his chest, and the owl diving down towards his waist. He's like running under some guy's legs, like jumping over a little barrel, and he like is running over to the caravan. Valoran, you might get a little panicked flash as you see black and gray, and you're like, Solomon, oh no. And so the little boy darts, runs, comes up to Decker, he's like, Decker Caspian?
I am now. I need you to stop, turn around, walk 10 paces back, and then approach me with some manner of decorum.
Lauren gives a slow nod.
So it would slowly move back, kind of like a...
You will learn that a message is as much as how you say it as what you say. Report.
Yes. Sir Caspian, your mother...
I am not a knight. Mr. Caspian will do nicely.
Mr. Caspian, your mother heard of your arrival and sent me down to welcome you to the city and make you aware that your father is not here. But you are welcome up at your estate. Obviously, it's your estate. I don't know. She is sending your yes.
Stop. Count to 3 and spit it out.
Your mother extends her warmest welcome to you as her lovely Mr. Caspian has returned home to her and wanted to make you aware that you, for on important business, that your father is not in the city.
Did she mention where he is?
He is up in Black Hollow checking on his facilities.
Tell my mother that I regret being unable to join her today, and that we must make haste to Black Hollow.
Yes.
If this is agreeable, gentlemen.
Of course, Mr. Caspian.
And I look at the rest of them. I was not addressing you.
Sorry.
I believe we'll be better served talking to my father than enjoying the hospitality of my mother at this time.
How far away is Black Hollow?
How far away is Black Hollow?
1-2 days, depending.
Depending, 1 to 2 days.
Well, good thing we can set out early in the day then.
Sergeant
Can't just-
Ferris,
Yeah.
refresh the train. We'll be leaving post haste.
Yes, sir.
Thor, I promise you, the next time we're in town, I'll give you a guided tour myself of the top 3 magic shops in town.
I mean, I would find them anyways, but sure.
You might find them, but you would not get the family discount.
Your family with everybody who owns the magic shop?
We're rather influential. I'm sure that with a little more time to conduct ourselves with some manner of propriety, you might find a better deal with what you're going to look for. I'm sorry, but you won't glow today.
It's okay.
Boy, what is your name?
Cedric.
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 Cedric?
Cedric.
Cedric. Cedric. Thank you very much. I want you to practice speaking. The next we meet, I'd like you to remember what we talked about today.
Of
Remember-
course, Mr. Caspian, I am sorry that I,
Don't be sorry, just be better.
of course.
And what I know about Black Hollow?
So Black Hollow, so the way that from what you know of your father's business and how it functions, there's various spots in the swamp that the swamp-grown coffee beans are sourced from. And then they kind of are brought into Liamis and Ukin in various different settlements, and those settlements are a strange mixture of kind of sort of swamp people, kind of sort of Liamis people. It's somewhat gray area, like what faction they kind of belong to, but they more or less are just little hubs of import and export, and then of course, it's ground down into coffee and then shipped to whatever city it needs to, and that's the kind of general network that you guys have. So Black Hollow is where one of your biggest receivers and senders are for your coffee monopoly empire.
Okay. Before we leave, I'd like to just find a messaging service and have them right ahead of us to inform my father that we're on the way.
Okay, that'd be like 2 copper pieces, 3 copper pieces for the Caspians.
Give that plus a silver tip.
Look at that. But is there anything that, I guess briefly, that the party is doing in Ukin? You would notice upon Decker's mentioning, as you're moving through this kind of lower tier of the city, where there again are a lot of kind of temporary taverns and inns and things for the travelers passing through, you notice a strange shop that isn't kind of familiar with any of you traveling the other regions of Asmiliath. There are these weird coffee shops, and they seem kind of boutique and strange and a little bit done up, and the people sitting outside of them are just sipping coffee very silently and not doing anything or being boisterous or loud. There's no music, it's just people sipping on coffee, and it's rather odd looking for the general folk of Asmiliath, but that would be one fun scene to pass by as you're moving through the lower region of Ukin.
I'm gonna activate the Mask of Mirrors if we happen to be anywhere close, as we pass by them. That's too weird. I can't just handle watching people sip without talking to each other. Just see if I can get any surprises out of them.
Give me a perception check.
Where's my mouse?
But yeah, both Campbellton and Ironpot would go about getting the caravan kind of restocked on the move, kind of sending various, I guess, caravan hands at this point out to get goods or retrieve things or things of that nature as the caravan's kind of slowly moving through the city. Okay. So Jarek, as you activate the Mask of Mirrors, which is the most useful magical item I think I've ever given you guys, there's a guy sat at a It looks like it's an old barrel that has been like redesigned into a table, but it's like polished and there's like a lacquer on it, which seems strange to you because it is just a barrel, but whatever. And he's like sit on an upturned bucket that matches the aesthetic. His hair's like swiped over the side, it's dyed white, and there's like pink fringed tips on it. He kind of like looks over at you, kind of stares at you for a second, kind of like, and goes back to drinking his coffee.
Fair enough. Okay.
We take our coffee drinking very seriously here.
You know, they could at least look like they enjoy it.
They are enjoying it. In silence. Something we could all learn from on occasion.
Yeah, I served people for decades. And if it ever went silent in there was a problem. Or it was like a funeral or something. Just, it unnerves me.
It's one thing I've learned to be good at is enjoying silence.
Well, teach their own.
Well, the Golden Hearts don't have any other business to attend to. You would kind of just like do a quarter turn of the lower circle of Ukin, kind of going from the southern entrance over to the western exit, and then pass through onto the main road, unless there's any other last minute things needed. So, spitting back onto the main road, leaving Ukin, I'm sure, Decker, you would receive some, I guess, words of encouragement as you leave, you know, righto, go get him, oh, it's a ranger, it's the Decker, and, you know, things of that nature, you know. For the party at large, you would realize that being a ranger is a recognizable position in this city that people call out and know the face of, so it's something, I guess, of note. But then the Golden Hearts would be on the road for another day or two, so if there's anything there, conversations, activities, ideas, things of that nature, that's what you're looking forward to. Alright.
So what was like the... It's going to sound weird, but like the racial consistency of Ugin, was it like all like humans, elves, half-elves, whatevers?
So, just going off of the lower layer that you guys traveled through, because you don't obviously know what deeper the city might look like, it seemed to kind of resemble Giles Kingdom's populace a fair bit. Mostly human, probably like 70-80% human, and you would see, you know, a spattering of various other individuals, whether that be, you know, elves or dwarves or gnomes or maybe a spare half-work or two here and there, but that would be the general appearance. And so it seems that, you know, racial acceptance is good to go here, but isn't like half the population.
Yeah, I was just curious if I got any weird looks or anything.
Yeah, you might get like a weird look from a guard potentially, or a child kind of like, ooh, but you wouldn't get the folk welcome.
Gotcha. Good old hometown welcome. Carry on.
But yeah, so you guys would have, we'll say, a day and a half's travel. You'd finish out today, and then you'll probably arrive at Black Hollow sometime around noon the next day. If there's anything that you guys would be doing during that time?
Well, one, will we get our 5 temp hit points?
You've been traveling with the caravan since Thrice Tower at this point, so you're looking at 5-6 days at this point.
Cool. Just wanted to make sure of that.
Did Moon have any comment for me yet about my Aerobica question?
I'm sure I could kind of give you a bit more of a in-depth splattering of it out of session, where I have time to kind of like bounce around. But he would know a fair bit, since, you know, she's kind of a Pruid Empire-based deity or religious figure. So it might serve, if you had like a specific question or intention about it, that I could kind of answer that and then give you a more broad stroke later.
What? How about just has she? Are there any recorded examples where it was believed that she directly intervened or contacted someone?
Yes, there would be. And you could either pull that from your own knowledge, but not have like specifics. Like you would know that people, claimed and quote unquote recorded these various interactions. But he would go into like detail of actually pulling out people's names or like old warriors that were prominent and somewhat renowned and saying, "Oh, you know him? Yeah, you know him. He was blessed by Arobica," and then kind of like go into details here and there. So as far as he's concerned, kind of different from when you asked about like Ziggurat, he'd be like, yeah, maybe Arobica isn't, how we know her, but she has passed on some boons, and there is evidence of it.
Do those examples have anything in common? I presume that they are mostly warriors or all warriors. Do they have anything in common other than that?
I mean, they would all be from either folk or the Pruid Empire. It seems that, not only, the only requirement isn't just being a warrior of great prowess, you also have to, I guess, quote unquote, believe in her or be a part of her pantheon to either get her attention or get her favor. So that would be the only two correlating through lines, is be good with a sword, broadly, and believe in her, broadly.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I steal Mr. Moon next and get his insights on Buffy and the condition that is Buffy?
Okay. He wouldn't really have anything about Buffy, but he would have, kind of stuff that you've already heard about Naturaine, or at least like general knowledge of Naturaine, since it's, I guess, believed at this point that that's where Buffy stems from.
Sure.
So, I mean, Choromon went over the broad strokes of her a fair bit. He wouldn't have too much more to say on that, unless you had like a specific question.
No. Just trying to figure out what's up with the bear. At one point I would try to talk past Buffy. Because you know how I saw in that vision I saw Naturaine behind Buffy. Mm-hmm. So I'd try to talk to Naturaine as if she were there behind Buffy.
What would be your words used in that, sir?
I can think of something really quick.
You gotta think of it now, or give me it in a few minutes, whatever you want, sir.
Let me think about it real quick, and then I'll get back to you.
Anybody else have traveling moments?
All right, so I guess my time's up.
Well, I have some sending I can do.
Are you checking Carl at this point?
Me?
I mean, I guess either of you.
I always check.
Because it seems like Jarek almost has kind of given up on it.
Well, I can always just reach out directly. Also, he's with Thor all the time, so I'm not going to be riding up next to Thor hey, what's up, buddy? Yeah, nice jawline. Okay, thanks, bye.
I would not put it past you.
But if Carl has a message, would Thor be listening to it? You sent Croak something previously.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
What the hell's going on here, I believe. Yeah, no, my sending would have been Croak anyways. One to him, one to Dover. Just, Croak is, be prepared, war coming, shore up defenses, keep the militia alert, and probably send similar things to Dover.
So you would not get a response from Croak, but you would get a response from Dover. Because he
Okay.
can reply, correct?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So you send out your message, and like a second kind of passes, and you're like, all right, it's been sent. And you hear, Jarek, I am lost in the mountains. I do not know where home is. It is cold, very cold.
Hold up. This is the same day. 1, 2, 3. Fuck, I've only got one spell slot left for him. Okay, first, can I roll a history check to see if I told him to go do something? Because I don't remember him telling him to go up into the mountains.
Roll me a history check.
Oh. I tell him to do a lot of things. I don't remember.
There was something you told him to do via message when you left. That's all I'll give you.
Okay. Man, yeah, I'm gonna have to burn that fucking level. I'll send back. Dover, why are you in mountains? That is dangerous. Get back to Corel. The town needs you. Why are you... I think it's only 20? Yeah, I
It's
forget.
25 per message, isn't it?
Why are you there? Yeah, 25.
Who wants to count for me? Jarek. Great leader. Had to hide body. Can't find way home. Starving to death. Please send help. Please come save me.
Yeah, and I think for the rest of that ride, you just see Jarek like, what the fuck happened? And he'd just be like muttering to himself, like, oh my god, what's it? Ignore it and it'll go away. Ignore it, it'll go away.
Jarek,
Yeah, what?
I was wondering if you could send a message for me.
Right now?
At some point.
Maybe in the morning. I'm finding myself a little stressed at the moment, and it's not quite flowing like it normally does.
Very good. I would appreciate it.
Yeah, Valor, and anything for a friend.
Would you have said this around other people?
I mean, it would not be. I guess because I have to say it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like it has to be said, but Nathan, you already ruled that previously, so
If you want to, when you hear the nature of the message and like move away from the group, I'll allow it. But if Thor, if you're determined to be privy to something of this nature, I'll allow you an insight check into Jarek to see that he is.
Well, I would be like watching
the
him send a message.
Because the first two messages were the same and they were relatively generic.
Yeah.
And yeah, getting Dover's response, I think Jarek probably would have dropped back at least behind a couple of carriages, or maybe in the throng of people that are walking. Because we don't have carriages for all of them, do we?
Jarek, go ahead and give me a I guess just a charisma check, because I don't think that's deception.
Stealth?
Sure.
I should probably have done the charisma with it. Whatever. Hold up. I will try a lucky die just to see if it's any better. No, I'll take the 15.
Okay, so yes, Thor, you wouldn't notice anything extremely out of the ordinary, except for the fact that Jarek does seem, somewhat stressed, but it's Jarek.
True. Fair point. And I wouldn't be able to hear anything that he said.
No.
Okay.
You probably could have heard the first message sent out. They get back, make sure the town's ready, everything's going to shit.
I also would have heard the conversation between Valorant and Jarek as well.
Anyways, you guys can carry on.
Oh yeah, Valorant. Anyone in particular? I know we have Short Stack over there that was for the network.
My sister.
Oh yes, certainly, yeah. I know how important your family is to you. Yeah, let me get rested up and kind of blow some steam off, and I'll get it right out.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's all I got.
Thor, are you prepared?
I guess. I don't know. It's gonna be something random, anyways. So you said it takes 1 to 2 days, right?
Yeah. Well, it's gonna be a day and a half, yeah.
Okay. So it would be probably that night, just like sitting around El Caravan. Just like I assume Buffy is with us,
Mhm.
right? Like all the time that we're not in the city.
Yeah.
So I would probably just be like scratching Buffy or just like petting Buffy, just chilling there. And then I'm gonna like look behind Buffy, kind of up in the air where I imagine a godlike figure would just be floating and watching me, telling me to kill something.
Normal stuff.
And I would just
Normal stuff.
Yeah. Thor's shit. And then I'll just say, so natural rain, I think you're like there-ish. I'm gonna say you're there, and if not, can you just like move there so I can look at you when I'm talking to you? So I saw you in like the cave, and you said kill him. And I'm still confused about that. I don't know if you want me to kill him or kill Kuztar or maybe JD. I don't know who else
You're
I
doing
would
this
kill.
in the camp, right?
Yep.
Okay, so everyone's hearing this.
Sure.
Okay.
With the mention of Jarek, I think he will prestidigitate a shower of sparks pointing at Buffy. Trying to be stealthy? Sleight of handy?
Deception.
And Caspian is just looking at Valorant like, is this guy for real?
He just kind of shakes his head. Keeps
Thor,
doing what he was doing, like
Give
eating.
me a perception.
Perception?
Perception. So as you mentioned JD, getting in like a fair bit into your speech, above Buffy, who's kind of like curled up on the ground, is kind of letting you, head pat him, you see this strange glow start getting a little bit bigger and bigger, and then in legitimately the shape of a sparkler, like 4th of July sparkler, in the shape of an arrow, is just pointed directly down at Buffy's head.
I'll just kind of stop mid-speech. So you really want me to kill the bear, then? That's your goal. Okay.
Thor,
Okay.
your god spoke. Take it from me, when they tell you stuff, you gotta believe them.
JD, you never listened to your god, like, ever.
And look how that worked out.
How did that work out?
It didn't.
Did any of us?
You want a
Like-
perception check?
Yeah, I'd like to see if I had picked up on.
I would be. I don't even know. Is it possible? Who has a +8
Well-
on?
To perception. Ooh. Did one of y'all have alert? I don't know.
I don't think you guys are able to pick this up.
Was
No.
Yeah. Is deception sleight of hand?
So because it was a combination of like trying to cast it without being noticed, and also it is kind of a deceptive thing, like trying to make it appear as if a god's speaking to you. Makes sense to me.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure, potentially maybe not Thor, but Decker and Valoran might be smart enough to put 2 and 2 together.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is are we?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the
You-
answer
you
I have
didn't-
for you there is you didn't see Jarrett cast it, but you are who you are. So,
And I just whisper over to Valoran. Not really sure that Thor will be very happy if he is tricked into killing this bear.
Valoran's like, he's flipping through some papers and eating some rations, and he kind of looks up like, what? Huh?
Thor
Killing a
said,
bear.
yes, Thor's praying. He says, who do I kill? And then he mentions Jarek, and then a shower of sparks over the bear just magically appears from a god.
Do we know that isn't what the spirit wants?
I don't speak with gods on a daily basis. Maybe they do such things. All I'm saying is that if Jarek tricks Thor into killing a goddamn bear, there's going to be bigger problems. We might be -1 Jarek very soon.
Valoran,
That bloody mess. It's done with him.
Valoran looks across the camp wherever Jarek is and just sort of narrows his eyes at him. And then he shakes his head a little bit.
Far be it from me to intervene in the workings of a god. Go back to drinking my coffee I'd brewed up.
I guess at the end of this, Thor will just be like, okay, well, let me think on it for a while. Don't really want to kill a semi-innocent bear.
So after this whole ordeal, and I guess once the sparkles subside, Buffy would kind of look up at you, and he's still, kind of leaned over onto his, his front legs, but he would lift one of his front paws up and kind of like wave it off towards the north, almost kind of like how a dog like lifts its leg to point a little bit, and just kind of goes like, "Arr."
North? I have to kill you in the north?
No response.
Is he pointing like directly north or just like generally north?
You're on the road and you don't have a compass next to him, so you don't really know precisely, but you know generally where north is, and that's kind of where he points.
Okay, but like, I imagine we can see the mountains from here, right? Or can we
Yes.
not?
I mean, yeah.
So So is he like pointing towards the mountains, or is he like pointing more towards the coastline, or is he just pointing that way in general, like waving around?
Little northeast, maybe.
Okay. And that's like the same direction that Buffy was pointing, like when we were over by Thrice Tower. It's just move.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I feel like we're gonna have to go on our own adventure at some point. We got a lot of stuff. Like freeing a dragon god. And that's, I guess, the end of my conversation.
All right.
Do I get any tingles?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
Any other traveling tidbits before arrival at Black Hollow?
Yeah, I would have no choice at this point but to look up Aerovica. Never spoken to you, but you seem rather popular in this group. Hello. Yeah.
Give me a wisdom check.
Let's see.
Hello.
I have one more thing to test.
Okay. No. Fuck. What'd you have, Thor?
Nat 20.
It's just like, it's not like, you can do this. It'll be like
Okay.
later.
So Caspian, Decker, you're not very religious, correct?
I've never been.
Okay. So as you're kind of lean back, just kind of like, lazily sipping on your coffee, just kind of looking up at the evening sky, just kind of throwing out a fishing line, just, why not? Entertainment. It's just at the time where, like, the sun is, like, just dipping below the horizon, the night sky's coming into view, where if you, like, stared really hard, you could just see the beginnings of the stars kind of showing up in the sky. So as you're kind of staring up, and there's just, like, the trailing bit of orange light from the sun, you see a glimmer, a shift, a strange movement of the light. The only real way you catch it is by like seeing the star kind of warp and dance ever so slightly, and you don't specifically see anything that like your human perception can kind of internalize, but you get the general feeling that you would receive when you would spot like a lovely woman walking by on the street. You just get this like quick sense of like, oh, but it's like unfamiliar where it comes from, and it's very strange to have hit you when staring off into the evening sky.
Look back down at my coffee, look back up at it. I think it would freak him out. Yeah. I immediately shut up and quit playing.
So Thor.
Okay, so this pickaxe is light, right? You said it's
Yes.
extremely light.
It's like 2 pounds.
Can Carl hold it?
He's a twig.
We've had him hold stuff in the past.
I'm gonna go with no, not because of the weight, but because of the size difference. Like, there's no way for him to, like, handle the strangeness of that shape.
Okay. Never mind. I was gonna see how far I could throw it.
But anything else, even any conversations happening on the approach to Black Hollow?
In the morning, Jarek would approach Valoran for his message.
in the evening though, before I went to bed, I seen Valoran speaking about or with Aerobica.
Well, Thor and Valoran and Ironpot do a nightly prayer, right?
Nightly.
Basically, yeah.
So
And
you
I do
would
a
be,
morning
yeah.
No offense, Thor. I had to pick one. Valoran. How close are you with Aerobica?
I wouldn't say close at this point in time.
She a vengeful goddess, or can she take a joke?
I haven't asked. I'm sort of working with Mr. Moon to learn more on that score, but my assumption is take one of the most beautiful women that you have known in your time.
Which
who
one?
knows that she is beautiful, knows that she's desirable, knows that the finest and fittest men in the land desire her.
Certainly, Camille. Yeah, go on.
Now give her ultimate power.
Aye. Look,
So,
do me a
tread
favor.
carefully, perhaps.
I think I may have already not. Can you put in a good word for me the next time you pray to her? We'll just let her know I say hello, and I hope she's doing well, and that I send my regards. I don't know what you say to a goddess, but just wrap it up in a nice box with a bow for me, would you? Just
I'll do my best, Caspian, but what... Did something happen?
I jokingly said a prayer to her, and I think she answered me. And it's the first time I've had any dealings with anything like this, so don't want to overthink it. Just the next time you just a word or two, let her know that I mean well, and
Valor just sort of averts his eyes, just sort of looking down in thought, and he says, almost to himself, "She is watching."
Thank you very much. Shit. And then I just walk away. You hear
It's
him
also...
shit.
It's fair to say that this is probably the first time that the party might have seen Decker off his game. Right? Like, is that the general aesthetic that you're kind of going for?
I believe so, yeah. I'm assuming with that role, that was a very real experience to him. It wasn't just
Yeah, it was odd enough that it kind of bypassed your, like, bullshit filter. Where you could have, usually been like, I'm young, it happens all the time. But, no, this one was like, oh no, what?
I think I'll be sitting next or near Jarek, and I'll just point to him as I imagine he wasn't like keeping this conversation hush hush.
No,
So-
you would have heard me say everything to Valoran, yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I would definitely just like talk to JD, point to him. Look, he's becoming you.
Well, the gods leave us jaded. It's just kind of what they do.
It's okay. I'll put in a good word for him.
Does that make a difference? Do they care?
I would like to think so. Did you ever try to just, be nice and do what your God told you to do?
Yeah, I did what he asked for the most part. It just, it wasn't good enough. It was
I
never
believe
good
that.
enough. Well, yeah, I did try.
JD, considering that there was a murder in your town, and you said, let's just leave it and it'll go away, I don't know how much I can believe of your
But
effort level.
I'm not the one who committed the murder.
But, JD, that's not the point.
But how was I supposed... some random person comes to the town, murders a villager. Like, what? I can't be expected to just handle that when we're busy trying to do other things. That's
what
Croak is for. That's his job.
One wasn't a random person.
It was.
We know who it was.
Well, no, but that's the point. Like, before it happened.
Okay. Well, regardless, if somebody dies in your town, I feel like you're supposed to, figure out who did it and bring them to justice. As the ruler of a place, I feel like that's your job.
Well,
or at least your job to dictate that to other people.
Croak is fine. He did it for years. He knows how to handle town affairs. I mean, look who was running the thing beforehand. It was Jarrell.
Don't you remember? Croak was like, maybe things will be better this time.
They have a palisade now. They didn't have it before. It is better.
Is it?
I mean, how many ogre attacks since I took over? None.
I mean, we could really fix that if you want to.
What, you want to send an ogre to attack a bunch of innocent villagers?
I didn't say that. I would never do that. But if I did, would you come after me?
Well, first the ogre, of course.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if I would come after you, Thor, but there could be people that did.
Mm-hmm.
More muscly people.
Mm-hmm. But do you see my point?
Thor, if you have an ogre attack my town.
That's not the point.
But then just don't attack my town. The town is fine. Croak's doing a great job.
I'm more talking about you, JD.
I'm busy. Look, we're out here. We're about to go look for a dragon in a swamp.
Yeah.
We have to fight a god. So many gods. I'm dealing with gods. I can't deal with the town right now.
I'm not. That's not even the point. That was just an example.
They'll be fine. Everyone out there is fine. More or less, it's fine.
What do you mean more or less?
Well, I don't know what all is going on over there. Some things may be worse than others, but I don't know. I'm over here.
Don't you talk to Croak?
Well, yeah, I told Croak to make sure everything's safe and prepared.
Also, why do you send the same message twice?
I didn't get a response from Croak.
So you sent it again to the same person?
Well, I mean, if someone ignores you, don't you normally repeat yourself?
I guess.
That's
It's
pretty
just a
normal.
question.
It's
it
a
was
normal
just
thing to do.
a question.
Okay.
Why are you so defensive?
I like to talk to people.
Really?
Yes.
We'll pretend like that's true.
Yeah, no, they're fine, Thor. Don't worry about the town. They're
Okay, but we're getting away from the point. The point is you're not trying very hard.
okay. Gods suck, and all they do is meddle.
Okay, but that's not even the first thing that you failed to try on. You failed to try on your workout program with Callie way long ago.
Jarek is confused. He's actually forgotten about that at this point.
All right, I think it's time for your reading lesson.
All right, we'll get back to this.
Derek,
Carl will just be.
are you all right? It looks like he's put you through the ringer.
Normal nighttime conversations. It happens.
Is this normal for you two? You argue like you're married.
Well, I mean, looking back on Jarek's life and getting yelled at every night, he's like, yeah, I know, that seems pretty normal.
Hey, look, I've got a suspicion between you and me.
I'm flattered, but I'm not like that.
The sparkly thing over the bear.
And dropping his voice to be quiet and,
Look,
not heard.
I understand.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, right? Like
It's hilarious up until the point that the big fellow decides to actually go through with it, kill the bear, and then if he finds out the truth of the matter, I don't think there'd be any stopping him. He seems very fond of that bear.
he's tossed around the idea of killing the thing like half a dozen times. He's not going to kill his own bear.
Look, it might be in your best interest to just let him know you've had a bit of a joke with him. And, and, I mean, yesterday I would have thought nothing of it, but you put words in a goddess's mouth, and that might not be the smartest thing either.
Decker, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret history here. I've had a god inside of me. And
Jarek, what you do in your off time is entirely your business. I mean, good for you, I guess.
Decker, you can't stop them if they want to do something.
Not it's a god, but right. But if I were a god, and then somebody spoke for me, I mean, I think I'd make a pretty good god. I'd probably think it was funny, but she might not.
Well, let's hope she has enough people vying for her attention that she's busy trying to, I don't know, give Valor some kind of fancy stuff.
All right, I've said my piece, but
I don't. He's not going to kill his bear, and I'm sure the gods could not care less about me.
I would have thought the same thing about myself yesterday. Seemed to change my opinion today.
Or drink it off.
Good idea. Let's do that.
Cheers to that.
After an evening on the road, or I guess a night on the road, you guys camped out on the way to Black Hollow. You're now close enough to the swamps of Liamus that you would hear the kind of distinctly different wildlife, the noises they make, the sounds you hear. It is unique to anywhere else in Asmiliath that you're aware of, that you've traveled to up until this point. Decker, you might even find some comfort, maybe some nostalgia about it potentially. You know, when you're sleeping in the estate at night, looking out over the distant swamps, you know, hearing the frogs ribbit and things of that nature. But waking up the next morning, you know, the caravan's kind of functioning as normal as the various, you know, hands and the healer and the warlock and the whole gang that you guys now travel with, you know, prepare for another stint, you know, taking up until around noon to arrive at Black Hollow. We pick up with Jarek.
Yeah, so, you know, Jarek will maybe grab a bowl of food. Assume we have a cook, someone cooking. You know, grab the morning stew, a couple of bowls, head up to Valorant's tent and just kind of knock on the sticks holding it up. Valorant, you up yet?
Yes, quite. Good morning.
Yeah, I got you some breakfast. Wanted to make sure I didn't forget about sending that message out for you.
That's very kind, thank you. I just wanted you to let my sister know where we are and ask her if all is well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, let me chat down and I'll send that right now. So yeah, Jarek will guzzle back and then grab his loot and send out, you know. Oh wait, Valorant, what was her name again? Giselle?
It's Genevieve.
Genevieve. Oh, my apologies. Lady Genevieve, your illustrious brother sends his deepest regards. Hoping all is well with the family. Feel free to reply regarding issues of the estate.
Totally forgot to mention where the party was.
Shit, how many did I use? That was 15. No.
That was
25.
Quick question. The only time Jarek has met Genevieve was incredibly briefly the night of the fire, right?
No.
What other time was there?
We did travel a smidge after that.
I thought Valorant quickly departed with his mother and sister, and then the caravan kind of separated. I might be remembering that incorrectly.
That's what I remembered as well, though.
So I think she only knows you. She sees you briefly, but I'm sure Valorant told her about you as well. But I'm just trying to figure out precisely how well she knows you.
Well, I mean, it says you have to be familiar with them, but it doesn't have to be like you're...
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you can't send a message.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out how her response is going to go.
It is indicated in the spell. They know who it is sending. So they would be like, Jarek, the fat slob from their...
Message
my
received
brother's
from
group."
Jarek Dissel. But yes, is that your message?
Yes, I assume I'm going to have to reply because, as noted, yes, I did not mention where we were.
Okay. So after a few moments, you would eventually get a reply. Master Dissel, it's good to hear that all is well. Tell my brother that his kind regards are welcome. The estate is fine. Nothing to be concerned about. I don't know what my limit was there.
I forgot to count.
Close enough.
Close enough, yeah. And then Jarek would spend another spell slot and send back to her. Give hugs and kisses to Mama. The group is in Liamis, heading to Black Hollow, should the worst occur.
Mother is in the Queen's Coast on business. But noted. Don't get too muddy. Tell my brother to bring me a coffee on his way home.
So Jarek would come back to Valorn. Yeah, she says everything's good. Your mother's visiting Queen's Coast. She wants some coffee. Should you return back, or at least have it sent back to her.
Splendid. Thank you again, Jarek.
Anytime. Well, on to the stinking, fetid swamps. Oh, talk to Decker. Valorn, I don't know what we're going to face out there, but I hope you will take no offense if I hide behind you and Thor.
No, of course not. We all have our distinct contributions.
Indeed.
Was there anything else?
No, glad to be of service, Valorn. I must bother Decker about his fields. Hopefully I can provide some assistance to him on that front.
We should get at least one extra bag that we can take that I can give to my sister.
If I do say so myself, I do know agriculture. Spent a lot of time with the hops, and ever since joining up with this lot, I've found some passions to pour myself into.
That's wonderful, Jarek.
And he'll say this loudly, I do try.
You do, Jarek. I see that.
No, but if you'll excuse me, please let me know if you have anyone else you want me to reach out to.
I will.
Sure, cool. Let's link on over to Decker. And is Decker awake?
Yeah, I would have been up already. Gone through my morning. Every morning when I wake up with the sun and practice like forms with the blade if there's nobody that I can spar with. Do a little mild calisthenics and then do a little recon of the area around the camp. It's kind of his morning routine. You will probably catch him in the middle of like some push-ups and handstand push-ups, just showing off and working out at the same time.
Yeah, Jarek would walk up on you and like, hell? Gonna shake it off and Decker, you got a second.
As far as I know,
Yeah.
I've got many of them left. I'm quite younger than you.
Yeah, well, death comes for us all. I just wanted to remind you, if we have the time, I can go and see what I can do for your fields. And
No, that'd be wonderful. DM, are we going to be passing those fields?
Not really. I mean, you will be passing, but you won't be like walking beside them. Like you'd have to go into the swamp a little bit off the main road. So they are kind of off to your west, but they're not like along the way.
so Black Hollow is not surrounded by the fields. It's more of like
No, Black Hollow kind of
distribution
rests right on the fringe of like land and swamp, and then the like swamp side of the town is all about like bringing in all the various coffee that has been harvested. So it's not like, you know, the town's in the center, it's surrounded by coffee fields. It's more like the place where all the coffee is brought to. The swamp-grown coffee.
If we're not going to pass by it on our expedition, perhaps on the way back. But I'll inform my father of your offer, and I'm sure he'd be quite grateful. Just take it from there. We'll see what he says. After all, it's not my decision.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Would you like to work with me?
You know, I've got my own routine that I do on occasion.
Well, share
Actually,
it.
well, you know, I run in a big circle, do some light push-ups, you know, kind of jiggle himself real quick, and there's a little more to push around here. But I had some success a while back, and did shed a few pounds.
I can tell you're looking quite trim lately. The
Oh,
road
that's
agrees with you.
That's just the stress. But thank you.
The best shape I ever got in was when I had my first heartbreak.
You know, normally people put on a little bit extra. I know I ate quite a bit, then it's not a point.
No, I
really?
determined that I wanted that bitch to know what she had lost every time she saw me in all my grandeur.
A candlelight flickers to life within Jarek's brain. We don't have light bulbs, thank you.
Yep.
And such a vindictive idea starts to take root. Decker, that's a genius. You were on to something with that.
I know, it worked. I quite broke her.
Yeah. Well, good for you, kid.
No, really. The best thing you can do is to show her that she truly means nothing to you now. If she sees you a fat, blubbering mess, putting on more pounds, she will give you the worst of emotions, and that would be pity.
I don't think I have to worry about that. at this point. But it is a splendid idea.
Let me know if you need more help there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Well, any word from the others? Are we ready to go?
Yeah, Valoran's up. Thor. Jared will just shout out, Thor! Thor, are you up?
You will see Thor just kneeling next to Buffy, kind of holding his hand on Buffy's head, and then just saying, "And I look forward for a glorious duel." And then I'll stand up like as he says, "Well, yeah, what?"
And
What's
when I hear him say that, I'll just punch Jarek on the shoulder.
Oh, it's fine, Decker. Thor, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Alright, well, let's see if we can't help you track down a dragon today.
Okay.
And we're off.
I guess
So-
I would maybe go up to Decker and be like, "Why did you hit JD?"
I'm trying to toughen him up. We're going to work together. Let's make him our project. Let's get that man in some sort of shape that resembles a man.
He's been my project for years. I
When he sees that woman of his next, she'll realize what she lost. Jarek seems to be down a good sort. He probably didn't deserve that.
What do you mean? I thought, isn't she still back there waiting for him?
I don't think she's going to wait for him after that.
After what?
After that.
What have I missed?
Oh, jeez. You should probably just ask him then.
Yes, Jarek.
Something's tickling the back of my brain. Did Thor not get a message from Croak? Like, he intercepted a message that mentioned Lasky being missing.
Yes.
All right, true. Forgot about that.
I mean, I don't want to give a dog a bone to chew on, but
Well, Thor isn't aware of what happened, but he has been told
Yeah.
that Hulaski's missing.
no, we don't know what happened. She's just missing.
Well, no, Thor doesn't even know that, like, Jarek and Valoran and her had a three-way conversation.
Oh, true. Yes.
I think she'll still miss him. I don't know where she is. Apparently, Croak doesn't know where she is either. But
You don't know what happened.
well, I know she's not there anymore, and that seems concerning. But JD doesn't. I mean, he seemed pretty upset before, and I assume that's why.
I probably shouldn't tell you, but more or less she said that she doesn't love him anymore. And he's quite distraught by that, and quite determined to leave her. So, with that being, and it's probably for the best, in that being the case, I'm trying to get him to get in better shape, take care of himself, generally be more attractive to the next mate than he was to his previous.
Wait, so his ex-wife, well, ex-wife? I guess now ex-wife
Yes, ex.
left him.
Mm-hmm. Not left him, he left her after he found out that she did not love him without any. There was no mistaking it. She hates him, as far as I can tell. Or at least doesn't love him. Finds him repulsive. Something along those lines, but the relationship's quite over.
Thor will just sit there for a second and just kind of absorb what. So now, his ex-wife is missing. Does he know that? Oh gosh! I'll just like turn around and run over the chair. JD, and I'll just like grab it.
Thor, what the hell?
I didn't tell you this. Do you know that your wife is missing? Ex-wife is missing? Sorry about that, by the way. Did you know that she's missing?
Yeah. What about it? Fuck her.
What? What do you mean, what about it?
What do you mean, what about? The last thing she said to me involved how she does not care for... Fuck her. She fucked Chad. She fucked me over. Fuck her.
Oh. Okay.
You know what, Thor? She is a grown woman, and she can deal with her own problems. I'm good.
I'll just kind of squint my eyes at him. Okay.
Thor, you can only be betrayed so many times before you just stop caring.
I guess. It's one way to look at it.
Well, how about this? Fall in love, raise 3 kids, and then have them rip your heart out twice. Then let me know. Let me know how that feels.
I'll add it to the list of things to do. But, it's not my plan.
Yeah, it's a shitty plan. I assure you.
Well, I'm sorry that happened. I didn't really know that. I mean, nobody told me
Thor,
anything.
I'm finding the idea of homecoming to be less of a desirable thing. The road has been the kindest thing to me so far. And Jericho actually put a hand on Thor's shoulder. Your companionship has counted for much, Thor. I do thank you. And you know, you probably shouldn't kill your bear. You know the gods work in mysterious ways. Who knows? Maybe that little display was.
What do you mean?
What do you?
There was literally an arrow pointing to Buffy.
Right, but
After I asked, do I need to kill the bear?
well, you've asked that question like 4 or 5 times, and every time it's a different answer. You know, your
Well,
gods are fickle. Like
It
the
was
rest.
the same answer until last night. But then something pointed, some like lightning thing pointed at Buffy, and then Buffy pointed that way. So in my mind, I'm thinking, so I have to kill Buffy at a certain place, and then something will happen.
Well, Thor, it's listen to Bear. Bear says that way. I've had a god inside me, Thor. I know these things. You're a little new to the whole deities thing. It's fine. It's fine. You gotta read between those signals.
I feel like I could go back to where you didn't really listen to your god.
I still have experience. Counts for something.
I'll think about it.
Okay, well, Thor, I tried.
I see what you did there. Nice. I appreciate you trying to help me. Well, I guess we should just move on then.
Yeah. Can you let me down now?
Oh. My bad.
So, as the caravan departs for the half day's journey to arrive at Black Hollow, again moving along the fringes of the swamp, this is the first time the party gets like an elongated glimpse of the terrain that they are looking at passing. The swamp stays relatively flat from where you guys are all the way to the coastline. So you can somewhat almost stare straight across the land of Liamis, except for the various, trees and foliage and, dense swamp vegetation that's in the way. After you pass by the fringes, probably the exterior 50 miles or so of the swamp, there is a almost like sharp and noticeable shift in the general density of it. The trees along the edge maybe max out at around 10 feet, 15 feet tall. But once you get into the interior, the deeper part of the swamp, the trees seem to go up to 30, 40 feet. Their branches spread wide and far. Their leaves, this dark, almost muddy green color that kind of represent the truly earthy tones of the swamp that it has bedded its roots down into. So it's just a strange terrain to pass by as you travel, kind of getting the majority of your attention as you're just kind of like constantly looking at it, observing new things, new creatures you've never seen before, kind of darting across the vegetation. But then you pass by the morning, traveling on the road, the caravan, various travelers going the other way or going faster your direction, pass you by, small talk, various conversations. But eventually you would arrive at Black Hollow, which isn't a large town. It's a rather strange town. Almost like the swamp itself, there's two distinct sides, two distinct appearances of this town, where the, stone and tiled roofs and, white granite of the buildings of Liamis and Ukin and the surrounding settlements are kind of on the dry land, making up warehouses and, large buildings in the town square and things of that nature. The side deeper into the swamp is this kind of sprawling shanty town, kind of patchwork docks and sunken wooden platforms, kind of making their fingering trails through these like grass huts with hay roofs, and the exterior of the buildings are like packed mud that you would find aplenty in the swamp itself. And it's just a strange, appearance for a town, that it is so divided. But it's obvious that the people walking around and kind of just glancing at their movements, they're, passing from one side to the other, carrying crates, conversing. You would also notice that the general attire that you're used to, just kind of traveling throughout Liamis, or not Liamis, I guess Asmiliath as a whole, is still prevalent in this city. But a certain amount of the population have on quite different clothing. It isn't as far as, just wearing like a leaf over their chest or, a large leaf for their private areas, but they appear to almost be wearing the swamp itself. Vines and, branches and twigs kind of intertwined, like woven chest plates or strange, like combs kind of tucked into their hair that keeps it all like bundled up, or almost like a braid with like sticks and twigs kind of jammed through it to keep it out of the moisture. It just makes them appear as if, they rolled into the swamp, kind of got all embedded and then stepped right out onto the shore. And it's just a strange sight for people to be dressed that way. But besides that, they seem to be, walking and talking as any other normal individual might. But that is the town that you were coming into.
Is it like especially humid here and like a swampland?
Yeah, I mean, especially as a Goliath, being used to living up in the mountains, and, a lot of Asmiliath is kind of raised elevation. Liamus would be very humid, damp to you.
I think I would probably take my shirt off once it got to pretty humid, areas.
Okay. Well, any particular way the caravan is approaching the town?
I'd probably work my way towards the front.
Alright. So imagining the plan is to arrive and then Decker seeking out your father? So you would know that I don't know if office is the right word, but a center of business for at least one of the coffee sides of the wealth that makes up your family is here, and there's very large warehouses kind of flanking it. So you know roughly where that building is, and you imagine if your father is here, that's probably where he's located. So, just going that way.
Yeah, for now.
Okay. So after arriving, kind of dismounting, getting a few odd glances from, the swamp people, for lack of a better term at this point, and the other citizens of Black Hollow, Decker would make his way over to the office building, the family sigil and also the logo for the various coffees that you produce prominently displayed on the building. It is clear that even in a town that's somewhat backwater, that presentation and a show of organization is very important to your family, or at least the business. So none of the kind of encroaching swampland touches the building. None of the roots or sunken platforms are shown here. It is a very well kept and very well displayed structure that you would stride on in. Is the party following, staying with the caravan? What's the plan?
Yeah, I'd follow.
Yeah, I'm sticking with.
Okay. So as you arrive, there's a rather middle-aged looking human woman dressed rather modestly sitting behind a desk on the far side of the main room. It's clear that this isn't exactly a room for, waiting or, I guess, like, business. It's more kind of like just a general front to the actual operation that is behind them in the larger buildings. But she kind of glances up from the desk that she sat behind, kind of looking over at you. She eyes Decker for a moment, kind of getting the general look of, but then kind of pushes that back and just relies on her general, I guess, greeting. Welcome. What brings you here today, gentlemen?
I was hoping to see my father.
Who would your father be, good sir?
Eldred Caspian.
Yes, you are the youngest, right? You're, Decker Caspian, yes?
The best looking, yes.
I have heard that as well. But welcome, Mr. Caspian and, friends. Your father is in the warehouse, checking on the equipment. I imagine you can...
Would you be so kind as to announce my arrival?
Oh, yes, of course. There was a rider yesterday. Yes,
Okay, you're very busy. We'll wait here. Are there refreshments?
There's coffee, yes, that you can partake in, and yeah, I'll go get him.
Your name?
Huh? Cassandra.
Cassandra, it's a pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to meet you, Decker. Or Mr. Caspian, which one do you prefer, sir?
Which one do you prefer?
She kind of pauses for a moment. Mr. Caspian is fine. I will return promptly with your father. And then she leaves the room.
Well,
Is there furniture to mess with?
There's 2 benches
Right. How are they positioned?
Like one on either side of the room, kind of facing
Hmm.
the meat of the room.
Is there like a table in the middle?
No.
Okay. Then I'm gonna move the two benches like a foot closer to each other.
Okay.
Why do
That's
you,
it.
Thor?
Yeah, what's up?
Just wondering why you do that.
Oh, well, it's just like, it's like my thing that I've adopted doing, like everybody has their thing.
I mean, it's not very subtle, and they'll find it immediately. And you should find something smaller.
See, now you think they would find it immediately, but sometimes they never notice what I've done. See, like, we'll have to come back here at some point and see. Have these couches moved back a foot? Or have they only moved back 6 inches?
Please go. It's harmless, so good luck with that. Hope it works out well for you.
Thank you.
I would probably move her ink pen and ink pot. If I were going with anything in here.
But see, she uses that all the time.
I know, but I see what you're doing. You're going for subtlety, not inconvenience.
Yeah.
Nice of you. Well, gentlemen, we'll be meeting my father soon.
What's his name? I heard you say it, but I didn't hear you say it.
Eldred.
Eldin?
Eldred. Eldred.
Eldred. Got it.
Hmm.
Is that how he likes to be addressed, or?
Mr. Caspian would probably be appropriate until he gives you his first name to call him. It's just manners, really.
All right. Will do, Mr. Caspian.
Or Senator.
What-
Actually, I'm
what-
sorry.
Alderman.
Alderman Caspian would probably be more appropriate. Either one would not be offensive.
Understood.
Over the brim of his coffee cup that Derek went ahead and took advantage of. Does anyone want any cleaning up, boots, whatever? I can make you smell like flowers or whatever.
No, not flowers. I don't think my father would be impressed by that. But yes, a good cleaning. And I put my arms out.
Yeah, Derek will strum out through the work and take a little bit to clean off the dust and mud.
So as the moments pass by and Jarek cleans off his companion, eventually you would hear footsteps kind of going closer until the door at the back of the room opens. The I guess the hostess that you'd met earlier kind of walking in. Behind her is a rather tall man. He appears to almost fill out the doorframe as he passes in. He is dressed in a modest but elegant coat. And it's a dark black with silver trim kind of all throughout it. There is a very small sigil of his household on his chest. There is a splattering, might be the proper term, of various rings and jewels on his fingers. Again, all prominently showing off the silver decoration that his outfit kind of is accented with. He also wears a distinctly long, multi-layered silver chain that kind of drapes over his somewhat slender chest. He has, gray, well-kept hair and a reasonable beard that is also well-trimmed to be as presentable as possible. As he walks in, you would notice that seemingly at all times he keeps this kind of small cold kind of hint of a smile. It's not like someone just told a great joke and he's holding back a laugh. It's more that he knows that smiling is the better option, but he wouldn't choose to do it if he didn't have to. But he would enter the room. He's currently kind of dusting his hands off on a cloth that he gently hands over to the hostess before he eyes over at Decker and the rest of the party. His gaze is very direct. He doesn't take any time to really size you all up. He just glances from one party member to the next before finally resting on Decker. It's like, son, it is very nice to meet you here. I imagine that you passed through Ukin. Did you pass on your greetings to your mother?
By proxy, Father. And it is a pleasure to see you. I unfortunately did not have time to stop and have a proper visit.
You've always been a rather, busy gentleman, as a man should, but it appears that introductions are in order. And he kind of very quickly glides across the distance between himself and the group, and he would just simply approach Jarek and kind of hold his hand out to you. I am Alderman. He holds his hand out. I am Alderman Caspian. It is nice to meet you, sir. What is your name?
Greetings, Alderman. I am Mayor Dissel of Corel from the Giles Kingdom.
Nice, strong, firm handshake, kind of gives you a curt nod, and then passes on over to Thor. I am Alderman Caspian. It's nice to meet you, sir. What is your name?
Hello. My name is Thor, short for Thoracius. I'm kind of noble, but you don't have to call me a noble name. It's fine. You can just call me Thor.
He's Thoracius Fireheart of the barbarian tribes of the north, and he does have lineage of nobility in Giles Kingdom. He's very modest.
You notice that even as Caspian's kind of filling him in, or I guess Decker, I guess I should say at this point, he is keeping, perfect eye contact with you, Thor. He's, taking the information, but he is, firmly shaking your hand and making sure the introduction is solid before he's like, alright, and then passes over to Valoran. Alderman Caspian, sir, it's a pleasure to meet you. What is your name?
Count Valoran Athelvane of the Kingdom of Folk.
Firm handshake, curt nod, finally steps back. Well, son, it seems that you, have kept up your habits of keeping colorful company.
Indeed, and might I be so bold as to say is probably the most illustrious company I've ever kept, with certainly the highest purpose.
That would be rather bold, considering the company that you have kept.
None has come close to the import of our current undertaking, Father.
Well, importance is rather important. So why don't you express to me what your purpose is?
Purpose is simply to stave off the destruction of all mankind.
He kind of waits a second, almost waiting to see if you are joking around, and then kind of realizes that you're not, and...
It's not a joke, Father. The very broad brush is that there is a being or a relic that we seek in the swamps that is quite necessary to our venture. Perhaps I'm not the most qualified to explain the details. I've only joined this company in the middle of their endeavors. Count Athelvane, would you be so kind as to fill my father in of the general scope of our mission?
I'm just going to say here that I do, but probably leaving out the most sensitive details. Just an overarching.
Well,
he doesn't
first
need to know.
we murdered a mayor, and then
he doesn't need to know about the spy network or anything like that. But
so you would witness him just very silently, but very intently, listening to everything, taking it all in, not asking any questions, just letting the whole story be laid out before him. It's clear that he is processing each new bit of information as it comes. Once you finally kind of subside, he just, gently raises a hand up, scratches his chin for just a moment. Well, it seems appropriate that this group has sought the Caspian, because I don't think there is any higher tier to strive for than saving the world.
It's why we're here, in fact. We need to venture into the swamp.
And aside from notifying you, we also seek your assistance, Father. We will need guides that are expert in navigating the swamp safely.
Well, it is a rather frustrating limit that I run into, that my influence seems to stop at where the swamp waters begin. But I can at least assist you in finding a guide. There is currently a hunter, explorer, I don't quite know what title he wants to go by, that is in Black Hollow. He's raising a bit of a commotion, but perhaps you can come to some sort of agreement and he might decide to lead you into the swamp. But I must ask, how shall the rest of the world prepare for this mission, event, undertaking?
In my opinion, Father, you should seek counsel with the King of Giles. He's raising an army that seems quite formidable. And it's perhaps, if I may be so bold, a perfect opportunity to cement an alliance with the Caspians at the forefront. We've spoken with him, and he is quite amenable to us. We've done him a favor or two.
My dear son, there is one thing about feudal governments that is rather weak compared to the republic that we now hold a prized share of. There is no telling how long Hunfor will be the King of Giles, and as much as I love alliances and relationships that increase my influence, I don't think tying my ship to that particular vessel is a good decision at this point.
I don't presume to argue. I can only give you the information I've got. But if you do presume to have dealings with him, perhaps you can provide him with some other blends of coffee that are experimental in nature. It doesn't seem to like our main product.
It seems we're already on the wrong foot then.
Well, trust me, it took quite a bit to hold my tongue when I heard him disparaging Night Owl Brew, but again, I don't mean to make light, you know me, Father. Is this anything that you can share with us?
Well, I will certainly use my voice to help spread awareness if this is a serious issue that the citizens of Asmiliath as a whole should be aware of, though I don't know how quickly Miss will be to respond due to the varying voices that sit upon the Republic. I do find this intriguing, at the least, so I will certainly make sure to gather whatever information I may and assist you wherever it can be tacked on. But I will not fill you with false promises.
Father, you know, politics are the least of my ambitions. I only sought to give you information that may or may not be helpful.
Yes, I am very well aware of your distaste of our family's purpose, but...
No, our family's purpose, Father. We're doing quite nicely. We're growing in power and wealth. It's the mechanics of politics that I've never been good at.
Well, if your brothers mysteriously died to some horrible assassination, then who's going to vote for the youngest Caspian that had no interest in politics?
Such an event occurs, you know that my duty to the family will override, and I'll do quite admirably at it. I just prefer not to. So let's try to keep them safe, shall we? And how's Danica doing?
She's fine, I assume. We've been having a bit of a disagreement, as you and I have shared many a time, but it will all blow over. Her allowance is cut off for now, and that usually causes some friction before it gets better.
If you take her money away from her, she'll resort to finding it elsewhere.
Resourcefulness is a very admirable quality.
For more common folk, yes.
My son, we are common folk. We're just a bit more ambitious.
We'll agree to disagree with you. Anything but common.
Well, friends of my son, Jarek Thistle, Thoracius Fireheart, Lord Valoran, I pass along my gratitude towards you for your endeavors. It is very hard to make money and rule a populace when they are all dead.
If I may be so bold, Alderman, your decision-making process, I recommend it be swift. You have a very limited time frame to make your decisions. We will either be saved or burning within a year.
Mayor Dissel, I do not know how your government functions over in Giles. We are rather removed from that process. But it is ambitious, to say the least, to get anything substantial moved through Liamis in under a year. But for this particular task, I will certainly try my best.
If nothing else, your armed forces may enjoy a bit of filling out.
Well, I'm sure my dear son is aware that whatever military might that Ukin wields, which is rather sizable if I do say so myself, will be willing to step into any sort of heroic endeavor that you might find yourselves in.
Father, Mayor Dissel is quite adept at some manner of arcane arts. Would you be opposed to him messaging you on occasion on our behalf?
I don't see why not, but I am rather busy and receive quite a lot of messages, so if you could keep them brief, I would appreciate it.
Of course, Father. And as for business, I'll briefly inform you that Mayor Dissel also has means to, as he claims, double the output of our coffee crop. So perhaps when this all blows over, he might find some small service with us there.
I
May I
dare say a favor for a favor is always appreciated in both business and politics.
Mayor Dissel, are you referring to the enchantment that helps the crops produce more yield?
Yes.
I hope this does not come to as a surprise to you, my good sir, but when growing crops is your business, we have already covered that particular base. There are shaman people in the swamp that make sure that happens.
Fair enough.
But I certainly appreciate the offer, and the ingenuity is astounding.
When you can never have too many friends.
Perhaps you might be a very successful entrepreneur, Mayor Dissel. Maybe being a mayor might not be your calling. Perhaps you should attempt your own business.
I shall heed your wisdom should we survive this.
That does seem to be the more important task at hand.
I'm glad you agree.
If not the king of Giles' father, we are on quite good terms with one of Folk's esteemed counts.
Lord Valoran, are we on good terms?
Decker has quite selflessly chosen to take up arms with us to prevent the next great entrance. I am hard-pressed to think of better terms.
Well, I certainly welcome your friendship, and your house and I shall be intertwined as far as our relationship stays fruitful. Though it has bothered me for quite some time that your regal queen has not stooped so low as to come visit poor Ugin. And I take some small offense to that, sir.
I could not claim to have the Queen's ear myself, but if I have occasion to raise the issue, I will encourage her.
Would you say that, given the right opportunity, you could find a way to the Queen's ear?
Yes, I think so.
What is stopping you from receiving these certain opportunities?
Well, for one, the current task that's before us.
I'm sure that your household is well staffed with various men and servants and businessmen alike, so could they not be working on that task while you are leading a very important crusade away from home?
Those in my house are in the process of recovering from a quite shocking tragedy last year.
Well, I am sorry to hear that, but as I said, our houses are now very firmly entwined thanks to my son, and if you ever find yourself in need of a friendly hand, know that I am eagerly awaiting.
I will keep that in mind. And thank you for your willingness to support our affairs in the neighboring kingdom.
If this is a bit too personal, please make me aware. But you are Lord, correct? Valoran. You seem quite young.
That's right. My father, the previous count, went missing and is presumed dead.
My condolences, Lord Valoran. That is a rather hefty blow for any son to bear. Are you married?
Not at present.
A marriage is a very good way of securing your place in the world. A friendly piece of advice from an alderman to a lord.
I haven't had the luxury of considering domestic matters since assuming my title.
Well, not that this is a lesson in how you shall go about your business. It is folk is a much different world than Liamis, but it is understood to at least myself that the title you wield, some of the responsibility of that is finding someone worthy, and he kind of glances over at Decker, to pass that title on to, which requires a what?
Indeed. Well, I believe that we will succeed, and therefore there will be a future for Asmiliath, and a future for me to consider all possibilities.
Well, just make sure to send me an invitation to your wedding, Lord Valoran, and I will make sure to bring an appropriate gift.
I will.
Father, thank you for your time.
Of course. I wish you all the best. Clearly, our lives are in good hands. There is a Caspian among you, which gives me hope that your mission shall succeed. The explorer that you should be seeking out, his name is Ganon Tola. I don't think it'll be too difficult to find him.
Father, could I have a word with you in private?
Of course. Gentlemen, if you could please step outside. And he
Yes,
kind
sir.
of glances back at the hostess and kind of like... And she ducks into the back room.
After everyone left, I'll run up and give him a big hug.
He kind of like goes a little bit more at ease once everyone's gone. Kind of like lifts a hand to like pat you on the back a few times. He's like, "It is great to see you too, son. I'm very glad that you are safe."
I'm safe for the time being. It's not an assurance with the current task, but
You know your mother is going to have an absolute fit when I tell her what you are doing. She was already afraid of you being a ranger, and now you're off gallivanting across the world trying to save the damn thing.
I know. Maybe you could just be light on the details.
That always goes well with her, yes.
It's another investigation. Really. Just can you pass on to Danica that I miss her terribly, and I'm so sorry that I didn't have time to stop.
Once we're speaking again, I will make sure to do that.
Father, we really don't know how much longer we've got. Please, whatever trouble you've got, I don't ask you for much, but please just shore that one up.
Despite the standards that I hold you all to, I am very convinced that you all love me dearly and I all love you just as much, despite whatever arguments or disagreements we may get into. I don't go to bed at night ever wishing anything but the best for all of you.
You could give her a quarter of her allowance back.
You two have always been so soft for each other.
Could I say she's influential? Father, could you, when you get back to town, would you give a donation to Erovica in my name?
You've been on quite the adventure, haven't you?
It is something.
I try and let you, be the man that you want to be, my son, and I don't want to step in the way of that. Mostly. men are the ones that build this world. We are the ones that dictate its path and guarantee its success. And I understand that quite a fair amount of the world wants to believe that their fate's in the hands of others. But at the end of the day, you can only rely on yourself and your family, son.
That's why I came to you as fast as I could, Father. But I won't bore you with the details, but it would mean a lot to me if you could just give a donation in the Caspian name to Arovica. Please.
I will do so, as long as you agree to present the Caspian name in the brightest light you can on your journeys.
I do nothing but.
Should I remind you about the plethora of lovely ladies that we have had the
And
pleasure to see?
Right with all of them.
I don't think they would agree with you, son.
I understand how important it is for you that I find a suitable wife, and how am I going to find them if I don't test them all?
Perhaps we'll cover this when you're older.
Perhaps. I promise, Father, when I'm done with this, I'll turn a more devoted eye to the family endeavors. Politics, if you wish.
My son, if you end up saving the world, which I certainly hope that you do, perhaps politics is something we could move past.
Perhaps.
Quick note before you do leave, son, and now that we are alone. Lord Valoran, useful?
Not really yet. He's poor. Of no real consequence yet, but much promise.
Try and downplay the offer I gave him. Unless
Well,
that changes, of course.
Yes, of course, if it changes. But, quite a nice fellow, little reserved, not one for many words. Certainly would not be an embarrassment to the family name to be associated with him should his star rise.
Then he has promise.
On the other hand,
I didn't like it.
he's got some issues he should work through. And Thoracius, another interesting fellow. Not quite sure what the nobility in his blood is, but it's rather weak. Don't get me wrong, he's very strong, but
Physical strength is...
But I can assure you that should our mission be successful, all of them will be quite powerful in their own right.
Well, just keep the options open, son.
As always, Father. Send my love to Mother. Please, again, try to... I'd rather she not be too angry at me when I come back. I turned down her invitation to visit rather abruptly. And I've never done that before, and really I don't know who I'm more scared of, her or Rovica.
I will try to tactfully place the message that you are on a mission to save the world and that you turned down our invitation in the right order.
However you want to politic it, Father, you're the expert.
Politics does not work on your mother.
I know. Or my sister. And my brothers? They're doing all right.
They're doing fine. Every time I get a message from them, they have good news. I have them doing various tasks, and one of them is...
Or are they still insufferably boring?
Oh, they're incredibly boring, but they are useful.
How did you make them, Father?
Well, when father and mother...
Saying, how did they come from you? Something skipped a generation. Was my grandfather this boring? I mean, really, it's as if boring became two people, and it was them.
I think you're a bit hard on them. They just truly
Oh.
want... Boring is one way of putting it. I can be quite boring at times.
Okay. Before I leave, what the hell is going on with the king that we don't know? He seems to be in quite a position of power at the moment. He rides a goddamn griffin.
And kind of like glances around real quick, just guaranteeing that you're alone. Through my various contacts, it appears that Roij Mazev, or at least that family over there that decides that they're important, they're not the only power at play. There have been rumors that Druid legionnaires have been redressed as Roij Mazev's soldiers and sent to the front. They're fielding some numbers that are not possible. And if that's the case, Druid is servicing a mock war through Roij Mazev. I don't put Gile Kingdom's chances very high.
What if they were to be given this information? Thus
I
getting that.
imagine the king's already well aware of it. If he has any sense.
Just remember, he thinks highly of our family at the moment, so...
As he
do it.
should.
As everyone should, but... All right, Father. I think I've spent too much of your time already. I know how busy you are.
Any time spent improving my family is well spent.
Maybe 1/16 of her allowance back?
You're just gonna make it worse for her.
We'll talk more on this later, Father.
Mm.
I love you.
Have a good time, but not too good of a time.
Would it kill you to say that you love your children?
It makes them soft.
Not soft. Not colorful. There's a difference.
This we can all tell by your attire.
You don't like it?
I think black and silver is a very fitting color.
Can be black when I want to be. Goodbye, Father.
Goodbye, son. So, after a few minutes, Decker would step back out into the courtyard with all of you.
Meanwhile, during that conversation, I would talk to JD, and I guess Valor would be there too. You know, I'm just gonna say it. I kind of see what the king's saying about their coffee. It's really not that good.
You know,
Acquired taste.
Valor, dealing with your people, no offense, left me with some understanding of how some people can be. Even with Braun and all of his qualities, this has been a different encounter entirely.
I'm just gonna quietly pour the rest out into the swamp.
Well, Jarek, you haven't been a mayor long, but
Well, even to be fair, I don't think I've been much of a mayor at all. I've been shrimp hazing around with you lot.
well, What I'm trying to say is that Braun was a man whose position had nothing to do with how people generally felt about him.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
And I think that Caspian's father is in a different kind of position.
Well, at least Deckard seems to have turned out all right.
And anyway, coffee is more about the ritual, the experience.
I think I just prefer water. I don't really know what this is, but it's worse
Yeah.
than rocks.
Thor, don't drink the water around here. It has a smell.
I guess that's
The first time that you ever drank an ale in your life, did you think that it was nectar?
I mean, I also don't try to drink ale, but I guess no, and I still don't really like it.
It's like that.
What's wrong
So-
with ale?
It's just not that good. I don't get it. Water just tastes better.
You can't trust water though. Like, have y'all never, had water out of the well and there's like worms or like maybe a little something floating in it?
That's like the protein, It's like
No.
the meat.
You can't trust. You have to drink ale for it to be trustworthy. The water can make you sick. I mean, gesture about swamp water.
There's like a dead fish just like slowly floating by.
I just, maybe I'm biased, but that's what I drink for, I don't know. When was my first ale? Like 7 or 8?
Well, we didn't really have like a lot of ale, growing up with rock water. So I've just, grown accustomed to water. I mean, every once in a while, like, that's how I kind of initially got it when, like, the raiding group would bring back stuff and they'd have, like, they'd be like, oh, look at this, we found this. But then they'd usually drink it. I'd never really got any of it. And then, like, one time I got some and it was terrible. I was like, who would drink this?
Thor, I need to circle back to something. The rock water. Now, I've had to pee out a rock or two, but you're saying you would just drink them, and it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't, come out.
I don't know, maybe.
Well, glad you're on our side.
And as this lovely conversation is going on, Decker steps outside.
Gentlemen,
Caspian, thank the gods. Let's find this Ganon taller.
think he'll be too hard to find? This isn't exactly a metropolis.
Yes, let's go find them. And then I'll just, like, run back inside, put the cup or whatever back on the lady's desk. Thank you, it was great.
We brew to perfection.
I can tell. And I'll just have have a nice day. And I imagine Decker's dad isn't in there, but I'll just, if he's there.
Your dad mentioned he was raising a ruckus, as I recall.
He was raising what?
A ruckus, a row. Some mischief or complaints.
Must have missed that.
I'm sorry, am I remembering that wrong?
Yep, you got it. You good.
No, I remember that.
No, I don't recall.
Deco was just so bedazzled.
Let's go see what we're in for.
Yeah.
So
My father's influential.
if the party asks literally anybody going by, the first thing you would learn, you just say, you know Ganon Taller? You'd be like, tavern. And just like keep walking.
Well, that's quite fortunate. Fortuitous. Thor, could I have noticed that he had not drank his coffee?
Give me a perception.
What?
See. There we are. Nah, maybe not.
Nah.
All right.
Yes, Decker. What's up?
Is that your first time drinking coffee?
Yeah, it was. It was quite the experience. There was a lot going on that I did not expect.
Yes. First time I ever drank it, I spit it out. I thought it tasted like shit myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
really.
crazy.
The secret to coffee is try brewing it different ways, different grounds, different strengths. Add different things to it if that's your proclivity. And you might find it enjoyable one day. It's an acquired taste. But make no mistake, it's very profitable.
I can tell that on the basis of you as a person and your family.
If you don't like it, by all means, don't feel obliged to drink it on my behalf.
No.
Share an ale
Yeah.
or anything else with you.
It was really something. I will remember that for my whole life, probably.
You probably remember how much you did not like it, if I had to
I
guess.
never said that.
But I did. Trust me. It can be horrible.
It can be. I
Decker,
guess. No.
If it helps, coffee will always remind me of royalty, so you've got that one going for you.
Really, I thought that wine was more reminiscent of royalty. Either way, let's go find this fellow.
To the tavern.
So
So
start
that's-
blasting.
So as you guys make your way towards... Oh, someone's feedbacking. It's fine. Make your way towards the only tavern in this town, which is called the Black Pit. You're walking up towards it. There's a small seating area outside, which is really just 2 tables and some broken chairs. Leaned back in one of the chairs is a rather stout, large gentleman, completely bald, dressed in basically all black leather, but he has a rather scary amount of equipment kind of dangling off of him. Various traps and hooks and vials and jars, daggers and blades and knives and just whatever you would imagine someone that travels quite a bit in dangerous areas would need, it's on his person. His face is scarred up with various, slices and gashes and claw marks that have been healed over. A lot of his eyebrows are almost completely gone at this point. He has this almost grimacing, mean appearance without even making any sort of expression, just due to the fact of how mangled his face is. And as he's kind of leaned back, kind of eyeing everybody, a few of the locals would walk by, and he would kind of like lift his arm and go to open his mouth, and they would just immediately do this and kind of pass by. And as soon as you are within range, whoever is closest, or maybe like Thor might be the first one to get a glance, you would see his eyes like snap over to you. He's like, you right there, come here.
Me? You want to talk to me?
You, all of you, you here.
I'll walk over. Okay. What's up?
I got a mission. I got the best adventure you've ever gonna be on in your entire life. Your entire life. Have you heard of a Hydra?
A Hydra?
A Hydra. Lots of heads, lots of teeth, scary as shit. I'm gonna kill one.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Better yet, we're gonna kill one.
Really?
What?
Better yet, we'd like to hire you.
What a coincidence. I'm gonna hire you.
What? Wait. What? Okay, whoa. Hydra. Where? What is that? How is that? Why is that? Where is that?
So I'm an explorer adventure extraordinaire. Know my name. I'm sure you already do. Everyone around here already knows my name. I've been in the swamp 5 years. 5 years I've been hunting down this beast, and I know where it lives. I know where it lives, but I can't get it out myself.
Why
yeah,
not?
Oh.
Hydra's big fan of red meat. Big fan. But they need it fresh. Need it live, wriggling, all that fun stuff. Don't know about you. I can't really carry a cow on my back through the swamps without dying. So that one, and he points at Thor, looks like he can carry a cow.
We call him Two Cows because, in fact, he can carry two of them.
Better yet,
2 cows. When did I get that nickname?
That's Two Cows. We've got this.
Ha ha ha, Thor. Ha 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 ha.
So, just to be clear, you're Ganon Taller.
yeah, it's my name. I'm sure you've heard it all around. I'm sure everyone... Oh, Ganon Taller, the adventurer. Ganon Taller, the slayer. That's me.
They more alluding to Ganon Taller, the loudmouth brute that causes a lot of trouble.
Same thing.
But right.
Okay, wait, but you're looking to hire us.
What's your going rate? Relax, Two Cows. We're negotiating.
When did this go?
Well, what do you need of me?
Well, if we help you slay the Hydra, will you help us? The Ziggurat the Black. Yes, that's what we were looking for.
What did you really need from me?
I'm Decker Caspian. I would not tell you anything other than what I need from
Oh,
you.
are you the big bloke that owns the brewery? The brewery, the...
I'm the little bloke that the big bloke made.
Oh. Alright,
Right.
alright.
Lineage being what it is.
But yeah, we're looking for, big black dragon.
Like Two Cows says, we're searching for Ziggurat the Black.
I'm serious.
Do I look like I'm joking?
Kind of look like a pretty boy to me, so perhaps.
Many people have made that mistake.
Well, if you're looking for Ziggurat the Black, then you're going into the deep, aren't you?
Exactly, and is that where the Hydra's at?
No one goes in the deep, except me. So I'll make
So-
sure that once we get the Hydra sorted out and I have achieved my life's mission, got another trophy for the wall, got 8 trophies for the wall after this beastie's slayed, I'll lead you into the deep.
You'll have maybe less than 8. We'll keep a trophy for ourselves. It's only fair.
Oh, we'll just cut one off, wait a bit, let it regenerate, get another one.
You could profit off of that. Might I have a moment to confer with my fellows?
All right.
Here,
Who
take
cows?
this, and I'll give him. I'll give him a fistful of silver to go inside the tavern. Get us set up with a round of anything but coffee.
Do I look like a serving wrench to you?
It's
Why am I going to get you drinks?
because I gave you money, and we're going to talk about how much you're going to pay us to help you with your Hydra.
I'm not paying you. I'm doing you a favor, you're doing me a favor.
You are hiring us.
And my payment is leading you into the deep.
At a minimum.
At a maximum. Deep's dangerous.
We'll
You
meet,
know-
Not even the Kolvmak go into the
we'll
deep.
meet somewhere in the middle.
Decker, it seems like the townsfolk were right. He's not really up for the job, and is mostly just all talk.
Fat boy? We ain't doing this.
Look.
I'm not believing a word.
You're
Humans are red meat. Think about that.
yeah. Is that why you've got all this going on?
Here's your trophies. You should get some.
I've had my share, thank you.
Share a food.
Decker, I don't know. He sounds like he's just all
Perhaps
talk
a
and
roast
not,
chicken.
Can you
not
prove you want to?
capable.
What was your name again?
Gun and Toller.
All right, Gunnan. Do you have any bona fides? Do you have anything that proves that you are anything other than a loudmouth, loutish brute, as many have indicated?
Oh, and that's the Kolvmak. I've gone to all the villages. I know how they function. I've become one of them.
All right. For the time being, you're not a serving wench. Your friend. Could you go secure us some drinks while we talk about you behind your back? And then meet you inside to drink the free drinks that you're going to buy with our silver.
All right, pretty boy.
I am pretty.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely.
And I take the silver from you.
Well, what do you fellas think?
What are the chances his Hydra is a stepping stone to the Ziggurat?
You mean Ziggurat?
Ziggurat. TM question, what was that name again?
Ziggurath?
Ziggurat of the Night
Mm-hmm.
is
The night.
okay.
Yeah,
But
what,
if the Hydra is even real, then
Yeah. I still don't even know what that is. But
It's like a dragon, kind of. It's a big reptilian-looking beastly thing with 6 heads. It's quite dangerous.
everything's always like a dragon.
It should
Not a
be
dragon.
fun for you to fight.
Yeah. I mean, if he knows his way around the swamp, he looks like he does. I feel like he would be of use. And we were directed to him, right?
By my father, no less. I'm
well,
inclined
there
to...
must be something to it in that case. And if you think that you can get something out of him, then fair enough, I suppose. But if he'll do our trip for his trip, then I'm not interested in dithering very much.
Yeah, I think that's fair for fair. But if you can,
like the sort that just needed a rougher edge. I think if we had come off too polite, we would have not turned out as well. It's my opinion, anyway.
I would say we help him with his hunt, and he gets first pick of whatever we find on that excursion, and the reverse for us.
I think that's reasonable.
It would secure the body part for us. It's a reason you're a lord.
Now, see, we could make it, I don't know how to make it worthy, but we could make it so that we like trick him and then we're like, but we all get first pick. So then it's like Valorant can pick something, Thor can pick something, JD picks something. Everybody picks something.
Oh, I didn't mean picking a thing. I meant that we take what we want, and he can have what's left.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
And at the Hydra, he can take what he wants, and we'll have what he can't carry.
Also, why 2 cows? Where did that come from?
Hey,
It's just improvising, but it's a good name. There was once...
How is that?
No, I mean, it popped in there, and I'm sorry, but there was once a fellow, he was so fat that we said that his coat had to be made out of 2 cows because it had so much leather.
I don't see how that's a compliment.
You're big.
no, it's probably.
We're not going anywhere better.
Thor, you're quite strong, you're quite big. It was a compliment. You could carry 2 cows. I couldn't carry half a cow.
No, see, you should have said 2 bulls.
Well, no, Thor, just
It sounds
here,
too
get
much.
all of your feelings off these 2 udders, and I'll slap Thor on the chest.
Hey! I'll slap him across the face.
No offense was meant, Thor. 2 cows.
I just feel like this is gonna stick with this man somehow, and I'm gonna have to live with this name for like the next week, and I don't know that I can not kill somebody.
You should direct your anger towards a Hydra if we find one.
Yeah.
I'm sure, Thor, that if we just make sure to say it 40 more times, that will really solve the issue.
Oh, on the note of issues, Valorant, anyone in particular you want to bring from the group?
Caravan.
Yes, I for one, the fetching young elf who can bring us back from the dead. That one just for forethought on my mind.
We can all take charge of one if you want.
We had archers, right? We got a handful of archers.
Yeah.
We have archers, just normal like bodyguard-esque people.
Just to save a little bit of potential trouble, your guide would be somewhat hesitant to bring along a bunch of other people. Like, maybe like 1 or 2 would be like, yeah, whatever. But like, if you start bringing like a whole other group, he'd be like,
Okay,
that ain't gonna work.
gotcha. So we can bring like 1 or 2. Yeah, we'll just bring, a couple that's, have their uses.
Miss Loveland, perhaps an escort to make sure that she is unharmed.
Yeah, I'll hang near her, make sure she stays safe.
I meant one of the men at arms from the caravan, but that's also beneficial.
All right, well, let's go inside and get those drinks. He might have drank them all by now, I don't know.
There was enough there for at least 2 or 3 rounds.
You say that now, but he looks like a drinker.
So do you 2 cows.
Can I insight his drinking capabilities based on years of a tavern keeper and
Sure.
judging people based on their alcohol content.
We could also just walk inside the bar.
There was no clear hint towards his alcohol consumption.
I'm just gonna walk in.
Yeah.
I think that's a
I'm up.
fitting time to end the session then.